In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hola, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, hippies and straights around the world. This is John Konopak, citizen journalist in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sheening up the worldwide hippies citizen journalists exchange soapbox this afternoon to bring you my view anyway on the events lately in Aurora, Colorado, and this morning down in Goliad, Texas, and the relationship perhaps between the two of them. We all know that the capriciousness of fate is a mainspring in the endless number of novels and other imagined dramas of our cultural past. Think of Wilder's 1927, I think it was, a Nobel Prize winning novel, The Bridget San Louis Ray, which, spoiler alert, collapses with a number of diverse people on it whose stories we are told and we are led to wonder about how they were where they were when they fell to their deaths. Or the far more pedestrian but more also familiar saga of the passengers on the Titanic. Life doesn't imitate art, I think, so much as life reifies it. For example, in Colorado the other night, a bunch of people went to a certain movie house to watch a certain show at a certain time. And in a flash, many of them were injured and some killed completely by accident. Because it was apparently just that, an accident, that a homicidal, probably psychotic madman chose that movie house, that theater, that night, that hour, to act out his psycho dreams or fantasies, or answer the voices in his head, or somehow otherwise to go completely off the fucking rails. Nothing that any of the people who were killed that night had done probably ever made them, qualified them as candidates to die that night in that way. They were victims of the caprices of fate. Nothing was compelled of them. They were there voluntarily. It just happened. Wrong place, wrong time. But the corporate scum press, of course, is obsessed with it. The lead story every 3 or 4 hours seems to come from Aurora, Colorado, and for the next 3 or 4, maybe 5 days, it will continue to do so. Both Stewart and Colbert will lead with it at least once if they're not on vacation. There were the usual somber pronouncements from all concerned, the normal outcries of pain and loss and suffering in the community and among the family members was duly recorded by the transient national media. Much was said about the armory that the killer had amassed, but that was quickly quashed when it was revealed he'd gotten it all legally. Nothing here, folks. Move right along, move right along. The quest to name an ideological scapegoat was fierce and immediate, but ultimately futile, at least so far. The man in custody seems to have the affect and convictions of a Beavis or a Butthead. But the setting, at least, was promising. It was a midnight show of a Batman movie. In an outlandish, stagey way the attack was carried out. Plus later clues linking the alleged shooter with the Batman oeuvre in a more sort of sinister way, and the amount and the extent of the carnage. That made great TV. This is precisely the kind of stuff TV is designed to purvey. Hell, even the president came to town to lend moral support as if it were a tornado. And if there were photo ops to be had, well, that's just the way of things, isn't it? The shootings occurred on Saturday night, and by Sunday, Obama, that relentless and resourceful ravager of the heathen Pashtu out on the wilds of Central Asia, besetting them with drone and Humvee and probably depleted uranium, he had decided that this Colorado slaughter was worthy of national attention and ordered the U.S. flag to be lowered to half-mast and flown there until July 25th. There was a universal, albeit orchestrated, symphony of grief, sympathy and compassion, and astonished outrage. The gunman had killed or injured nearly 80 people. There things stood until last night or early this morning, that being Monday, when down near Goliad, Texas, a name fraught with symbolism in those parts, an F-250 Ford pickup carrying perhaps 25 passengers between the cab and the bed, left the highway at speed, crashed and killed 13 people, 2 of whom later turned out were infants. But there hasn't, perhaps you've noticed, been an outpouring of humane concern over those victims. There are no days of mourning bequeathed, no lowering of flags decreed. Indeed, La Migra's on the scene. Homeland Security, and you know what that means. Yet, the fates of the dead and the injured in the theater are no different from those of those poor workers who were hitching a ride to town with an amigo who happened to have a set of wheels and who inadvertently somehow managed to stick it between a couple of stout trees coming suddenly to rest from 60 or 70 miles an hour. Dead or injured is dead or injured. I have to wonder what makes one victim more due the nation's respect. That you were unlucky enough to be in one place and not in the other when you got accidentally killed? Why should the flags be flying at half-staff for the victims in Colorado while in Texas the locals are complaining about having to care for the survivors? No, I'm not making it up. What's the difference, hippies? If you'll forgive the rhetorical question. See you at the beach.